And once again, we experienced a Trump bump. And now there's an opportunity for you that you shouldn't miss. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. There are also the coalition negotiations between the CDU and SPD, which are concluded. We'll also take a detailed look at those now. Has the holding period been cracked and abolished now, or not? Or are there perhaps a few more evils that just flow in like that? We'll take a look at it, plus today's trading setup. So I would say let's not waste any time. See you after the intro. Now new. Uptrend VIP trading. Your opportunity to copy the signals of two professional traders for free. They managed to grow an account from $4,000 to $30,000 within 2 months. The results in the group are also impressive. All you need for this is a deposit of $100 into your BingX account. You can find all further information below in the description. Let's quickly start with the crypto bubbles. Yes, that looks impressive. Of course. We mostly have double-digit percentages that have just shot up, and we're talking about the big players here, whether it's ByteDance or Ondo, Render. They're all back in action. Just don't forget how many percentages have been lost in the past few days. That means, again, it reinforces the picture I have. Even if you have a Bitcoin in your portfolio that's down 80%, friends, what is 80% when such a thing can quickly do 5, 6, 7x again? Well, quickly in quotation marks, please. This won't happen tomorrow, but if we see a Bitcoin rally in the future, then I also see great potential for such tokens, provided they weren't extremely small. So better wait it out. Even if you're heavily in the red right now, I can only give the tip to just forget about it for the moment. Don't even look at it, and instead enjoy something else. Snapshots of daily values. That's already wild. And yet, if you look at the weekly view, monthly view, yearly view, okay, yes, gone. But let's just take a look. Fat coin. Wow, 218%, and we're all happy. Again, no. So, as I said, jokes aside, be aware that just because it goes up for a day, it can also go down the next day. Yes, the whole chaos, it has a name, and that's Trump, or rather, the tariff policy. Because yesterday, unexpectedly, as often happens, a report came out saying, yes, we're just going to suspend all the tariffs for now. At least they are reducing them for 90 days because so many countries have come forward and want to enter into negotiations here, and so on. Whether that's true or if Trump has perhaps been somewhat reined in, well, one might not believe it because it seems like no one ever interrupts Trump. But maybe there are indeed a few actors, whether it's the Wall Street art scene and so on, who have suggested to him, my friend, do something different. What still remains, by the way, is China, specifically the tariffs. And they were even increased. So clearly, logically, what else should one do? I have also summarized this in this post here on X. If you're not following me there yet, feel free to do so. Check the description, there's the link, or simply search for uptrend info. And what I'm trying to get at. So now we've already reduced tariffs for almost all countries, to a large extent. We're in a negotiation phase here, getting cozy, everything's fine. USA, China, this is currently the hotspot, or rather where the conflict is really escalating. So if one imposes some tariffs, the next one immediately does the same. 50% more on top. So with China, we should currently be somewhere around 100. Oh, yes, here it says 125%. So yeah, all right. In any case, what I'm getting at is that I can very well imagine that the USA and China will sit down together very soon. And if they sit down together and possibly also find an agreement, However that may look, that should then trigger the next wave of actions. So, as I said, don't let yourselves get too worked up right now. It is quite possible that a positive impact might come. But before that happens, which I'll get to in a moment, an opportunity has arisen that we shouldn't pass up. But before we get to that, a big thank you for yesterday's video. 2,000 clicks. Yes, you can tell there's fear in the market. We are currently at fear and greed at 25 naturally. We have 159 likes. Maybe we'll hit the 200 mark today. By the way, you can boost this for free and without any time investment. My hours of research, my channel, this work that you receive from me day after day. So I would be very happy. You are warmly invited to leave a free like now. Of course, you can also write a short comment at any time, which I would also appreciate. And otherwise, if this is perhaps the first video you are watching, this is about crypto news plus trading setups. All fact-based, honest, transparent, neutral, without hype. So exactly what you need for investing. If you're interested, feel free to leave a free subscription now, plus activate the bell so you don't miss any important information. A warm welcome to all the newcomers. And now let's continue. Yes, NASDAQ goes crypto. That's how you could also title the headlines. It's absolutely crazy what's happening in the traditional market right now. So some people might be gasping for air. If we take a look at that, it's a 16% in increase. Friends, and what? In secret, what actually happened yesterday? Yes, it corrected a bit downwards. What can be seen positively now is that it was like a tense spring due to all the tariff policies, which has now been released all at once and snapped upwards significantly. And we are now at least back above this, let's call it, first critical zone. That's already good. And we are now basically in the midfield. So now we should, of course, see what else happens today. What possible news might suddenly come through the door that we don't have on our radar? So these are all factors we should definitely keep an eye on. Further look at the spot ETFs. Here we have once again an outflow. As you can see, the only positive aspect here is that it's not as large as the day before. But as I said, yesterday the outflows were still in the triple-digit million range. So yes, you can just tell that the caution is significant. And I can also tell you that trading right now is really, really, really tricky because you just don't know what kind of post might suddenly come around the corner and completely ruin your plan or just steer the price in completely different directions. So feel free to write in the comments how you think about it. But that's why we have, for example, the VIP trading, where the professional traders make decisions with real consideration. I find it really exciting, especially because they are pulling out massive profits, even though the market situation is like this. And the community can really be happy about it because you get the signals for free and can participate in them. While we're on the topic, just a quick note about BingX, where all the trading takes place. You might know it's a licensed exchange. There's now an additional bonus for you, namely the VIP Express channel. So if you're interested, there's a bonus of up to $2,000. You can read all the terms here, or it's also available in my Telegram group. If you're not a member yet, check the description. You're welcome to join. And otherwise, you're of course warmly invited. So we are now, I believe, 60 people in the group who have been actively using it for several weeks and months. And they are quite happy with the profits. Before we get to the trading setup, just a quick note. The topic of the coalition agreement or no capital gains tax on crypto. Is that really the case now? So basically, the gentlemen have apparently come to an agreement. And there is also a corresponding headline in the line. 1601, the regulation of crypto assets of the Peter Gray capital market. So you can already sense a bit of negativity there. And the shadow banks, of course, will add to that. We will check for gaps and close them if necessary. Okay. All right. Now let's briefly recall. The SPD. They made such a nice proposal back then. I'll quote it briefly again. The capital gains tax rate. We increase it to 30% on private capital income. We tax income from cryptocurrencies like capital income, plus the 1-year holding period. That should also disappear. Now, here's a small positive. So, what we can at least deduce from this presented coalition agreement is that neither the removal nor the abolition of this 1-year holding period is mentioned, nor any increase in the tax. So, one can hope that the SPD didn't get any further with this and the whole issue is off the table. And now directly on to the crypto trading setup. By the way, I have secured a new deal for you with BingX. That means if you are looking for a cool exchange, which is anything but small, I will also meet with the relevant leaders of the token there in Dubai, so look forward to some more insights. In any case, if you're interested, you can use the link below. Register now and also secure a deposit bonus. There are several, however, which is why I will just display it here for you, where you can find all the details, whether it's about trading volume or the actual deposit bonus. Feel free to check it out. I think it's definitely cool either way. Well, I don't know, a pretty cool thing. Let's start directly with Bitcoin, because I want to share something with you. We now have an opportunity, one that we should definitely keep an eye on. So, let's take a look at the daily view. As you can see, the heat map is full. You could say that. Up here, it's lighting up quite strongly. So, yes, it's quite conceivable that we might push into these regions again. Although, we currently have a certain downward trend, but we'll get to that in a moment. If we now switch the time frame to 3 days, we see, yes, everything is already cleared out here. Oh, yes, we can see that here as well. So there's not much left lying around, and we also have down here a quite attractive area, or rather a whole block if you look at it overall, which could be quite interesting for the market. But now let's take a broader view before the hysteria starts. And we say we will see 73 to 74K again. Wait, so, however, I would like to give you something else to consider. And let's take a further look at trading. I have deliberately chosen the 15-minute view here because this could now become quite interesting for all-day traders. So if we take a look here, volume area, nothing happened here. We can see that right now, big vector candle. We remember back November 5th, election of Donald Trump. It looked similar then. It just went straight up. And since that time, we've been kind of meandering around. But that also means we have a few quite big vector candles. And exactly these vector candles, they are often revisited. We now see a bit of meandering in the chart. Yes, a bit up, a bit down. You can leave it at that for now. Right now, it's going a bit upwards again. All in all, I can quite well imagine that these vector candles will be revisited here. Please don't panic. So especially to all hodlers, yes, it can happen even if you look at the volume area here that we might target this zone down here again. So around 78K or also towards 77K. By the way, this would exactly align with this vector. Candles. So this lower zone might be tested again, and then it could continue upwards. This means, and we should keep an eye on it, we have a certain zone that has formed here. So let's say around 81,000. 327, so plus or minus, if we go up now, 81, 500, 600, something in this range here. We should definitely keep an eye on this now to see what the market is planning, because if it continues downwards here, either part of this vector candle will be picked up or the entire vector candle. We should also keep an eye on the EMAs, but as I said, if it happens, I will provide an update on it. In any case, all in all, it might be that you have a beautiful short confirmation here, or you can take a short trade and also take profits before we hopefully continue to rise cleanly upwards if we are down here. But as I said, if this is not picked up, well, I am very curious. So far, we have picked up all the vector candles. The only one that has only been partially picked up so far was indeed the one from the US election. And so we hope that it doesn't go further down there. But as I said, it might easily be retested. And then it continues nicely upwards. Clean. Let's take a direct look at Ethereum. Yes, it's still an ongoing construction site that we're experiencing here. And here, too, we must not forget we have a large volume block and especially a big zone down here that is highlighted. So we hope that's not the case. Of course, we also have to deliver the news accordingly about what happens then. But then it could really be the case that we slide back down into this zone is also relatively logical, because quite a few have probably gone long here and thus liquidity has built up here as well, but that doesn't necessarily mean it will be taken immediately. But all in all, Ethereum, unfortunately, still doesn't stand very solidly turned around. If we now look at the 12-hour view, it is indeed very short term. Then we see there is still a volume block here, but also up here, especially here, volume has formed. And also here, I can certainly imagine that it will be picked up accordingly. But as I said, all in all, I can well imagine that Ethereum makes sense if it's down there to say, I'll get it for the HODL portfolio, because clearly if we really maybe see something like that, the 4K plus or minus, then 1.5, 1.4 is quite an interesting entry price. Yes, but for trading, it's currently quite thin. Now let's take a quick look at the 4-hour view. By the way, I call this chart formation Nessie. So if you're up for it, I can think of definitely a few more funny names. In any case, we have a double bottom here. That's already quite nice, quite pretty, and quite great. But we can all calculate if this short trade can really be realized now with Bitcoin, and we see another slip to, let's say, 77, 78K, then we all know what will happen with Ethereum and others. So, as I said, let's keep calm for now. Also pay attention to what comes in the news. Is there finally some calm in the market, or will something suddenly happen? A new whim from Trump comes to mind, which then throws the markets into collapse again. I hope not for now. However, we will see it in the future. A quick last look at XRP. There, by the way, the same picture, so the liquidation heat map is practically empty. And we can also look at Bitcoin here, because we also have this vector candle in there and have now had a slight pullback again, and also had this, well, let's call it a double bottom here. It's all great. You can practically lay a template over it and then derive it from Bitcoin. That is logical. And right now, it's a bit like the calm before the storm in whichever direction. So, up here, the support definitely didn't hold, which is why it continued downwards. And now the big question is, will this vector candle be picked up again or not? So, as I said, from the past, let's say the last postings we had, there was also a massive volume pumped quickly. And then it continued with the dump. And then the healthy rise and healthy growth followed. That's it for today. I am very curious. Feel free to write in the comments what your opinion is on this. Do you think it's going straight to the moon now? or maybe there will be another setback. And otherwise, if you want to support my work, feel free to leave a free like. And still, I made a video about what concerns Michael Saylor and the danger that threatens if the Bitcoin prices should be somewhat different. You should definitely check it out because it's interesting for everyone. No, not interesting, important for every crypto investor. In this case, we'll see each other in this case. Yes, exactly. We'll just see each other tomorrow in the next video. Until then, all the best. Bye.